welcome back to my YouTube channel. But if you're new here, my name is Brittany. I'm a Chicago-based lifestyle content creator. And today I'm gonna wrap up the year with my very last monthly favorites video of 2024, highlighting all of my favorite things from the past month of December. And since it is December and like 'tis the season, I even have my little holiday earrings on. I do look a little bit bald though with this slick back bun. Since it is the holiday season, some of these are gonna be they'll be a little bit Christmas inspired, I should say, since I do celebrate Christmas. But if you want to go back and see any of my other favorite videos from the rest of the year, I do have a whole playlist on my channel with all of them. Actually, there's only 10 other ones because I did skip the month of September, but otherwise take a look back. Okay, so without further ado, let's get started. So we'll start with, as always, beauty. So my favorite beauty product of the month. And this month, this is a product that is new to me. And that product is the Fenty Skin lip mask. Let's see if this will focus. Maybe. Eventually. It's so bright out. Okay, maybe not. Anyway, what is this full product name? So it's like the Fenty Skin Plush Put-In Intensive Recovery Lip Mask. And this is just in the like original flavor or scent, whatever. And I just bought, but it does have a little bit of a vanilla, like a little bit of some of the vanilla notes or something like that, but it is just called original. There are other like more scented options. They seemed a little bit too scented for me. Like there was like a salted caramel and I don't think I could handle that. It's like a little too sweet. But I just got this over Black Friday from a sale like at Sephora. Fenty's, I think all Fenty products, maybe just Fenty Skin, were 30% off one of the days. So I grabbed this mostly because my lips, like basically since winter time started, and it's so dry, like my lips and my skin and my hair too just feel like all of the moisture has been sucked out of them, and my lips are just so dry that like nothing, I felt like nothing that I was using, or at least that I had at the time that I was using, was keeping them hydrated enough. So I decided to try this since it was on sale and it had really good reviews. And I will say it is very hydrating, and also has like a nice little sheen to it too. It's what I have on right now. So I mean, it's not any color or anything like that, not any like true color, but I mean, it's kind of nice too. I feel like it's, I mean, I guess we'll see, but it has like, I was gonna say, I feel like it's pretty good for like product waste. Like it has like a little, like this is a twist and the product is inside of here, so I'm guessing there's like a pump inside that like pushes the product out into this little thing in the center. And I just use like a lip or like a little wand, like scooper, that I use for all other like lip products and stuff too, just so I'm not always putting my fingers in it. So I've been using this like at morning and at night, and honestly a couple times throughout, like whenever I want throughout the day too. But I really have been liking this. And like I said, I've only been using it for a month, but I do feel like I can tell like when it's like getting that hydration back into my lips, because they were like looking a little dusty and crusty for like a couple of days there. So anyway, that is my favorite beauty product of the month. And then I think that's the only like product that I'm gonna share. Otherwise, everything else is gonna be like kind of in the entertainment realm. So I have a favorite book that I'm gonna share this month, which I don't always share books, but like hopefully in 2025 I will be, because I think I am going to continue this series into 2025, and hopefully every month in 2025 I will be sharing a book, because I'm really trying to get back in my reading era, because I'm trying to like cut down on my screen time, but that's a video for a whole nother day. But anyway, with that being said, a book that I have been listening to for the past like maybe a month or two now, I'm reading it through my book club at work, and I've really been liking it. And so that book is called The Black Girl's Guide to Financial Freedom by Paris Woods. I should have looked that up to make sure that is the author's name before I got on here. Yeah, that is her name. So The Black Girl's Guide to Financial Freedom, and like the subheader is Build Wealth, Retire Early, and Live the Life of Your Dreams. Obviously, like who's not trying to do that? So this was like I didn't necessarily specifically pick this book, but we voted on it as a group, and this was the book that won. And honestly, I don't even think I voted for this book in the poll, but so I don't think this is something I would have read on my own, but I do really like it. Like, I feel like it's the same as like with everything, with any kind of advice or whatever that you read online or from books, like if it doesn't apply, let it fly. So like, do I think every single morsel of information in this book is relevant to me and like a lesson I need to take away? No, but like I said, that's the same with everything. But I do think there's a lot, like no matter who you are, there is a lot that you could pull out of it. And I do like like the lens that she, like Paris Woods, like writes the book through, because obviously she is a Black woman. And but I think this, like most of this financial advice could be applicable to anyone, but there aren't, I mean, in general, there isn't a lot of media that is directed or that like puts Black women at the center. And especially in terms of like, I don't call this a self-help book, but like self-help, I guess, like actualization, and like especially when it comes to finances. Like I think money is, I mean, I love talking about money. I will talk about money with anyone, because I do think that people, especially women and especially Black women too, do not talk about money enough. And when you don't talk about money, you don't learn about it. But then you also, like, when you're not informed, then you are like, that's one less like tool bag in your arsenal to be able to help you like become financially free and just like be a more well-rounded person. And I will say in the past maybe like 5 or so years, I have really gotten a lot more serious about my finances, and I feel like I have a pretty big financial goal that I'm working towards for next year, and I feel like pretty on track to meet it, which feels really good. But I found people that were similar to this author to help me kind of like learn more about finances, who are people that like have walked through life similarly than I have, because I do feel like finances are very personal, and like your Dave Ramsey's and like those kinds of people, the way that they, in my personal opinion, the way that they talk about money and finance is from a very small-minded perspective, because like I said, money is personal. And you it is personal, and when people try to act like it's not, that is frustrating to me, because it is personal, and we're all human and emotional, I guess is the word I should say. There is a lot of money behind, or a lot of emotion behind money and why people spend the way that they spend. And I feel like especially for Black people in America specifically, that's what I can speak to since I live here, there has been a lot of gatekeeping in terms of, because like when you gatekeep information, it prevents people from moving up. And so there has been a lot of gatekeeping around finances within Black communities, and just like not access, or as much access, like through ways of like redlining and like systematically like that, like keeping that information away from those communities. And so like when you're not educated, you obviously when you know better, you do better. And like if you don't know better, you can't do better. So I like books like this that again are from the lens of, it's okay if you don't know this, here's how we can get better together, instead of being like, you should have done this, you should have done that, you should have done this type of thing. I don't know, I like that, like that approach to it. All that being said, into the meat of the book, this book is broken up into like different chapters that just talk about different aspects of money. So there's a credit chapter, there's like a career chapter. It's basically like get your money up, like how to, I just made up the title. I don't think that's what it's called. I'm not totally done with the book, but the last chapter or two is about like retiring early, which God bless, when we all love to retire early. And I like the realistic approaches that she takes to a lot of the conversations. Like she kind of will talk through like, here is kind of the right way to do all of this. She's like, but you know what? I didn't do it that way either. I learned, and like, here's what I learned from it. So again, it's not like a finger wagging. It's like, let's all learn this together. So there was, like I said, there was some stuff that I didn't feel like to me was as applicable, because I really cleaned up my credit a lot in the past couple of years. Like I don't have any debt really besides student loans, and I don't have a ton of student loans left to pay. So it was like hearing a lot of that information. I was like, yeah, that some of that is how I like got out of that like debt hole and debt cycle. But then a lot of the chapters about like work and like leveling up and that kind of stuff like were really, and it was just interesting, like the perspectives. I think my biggest takeaway from this is like the perspective about which she talks about money and finances and how to approach all those different things, and that like how you don't have to be in the passenger seat for all of that. Like you can take control. And I feel like that's something a lot of people need to hear. Like if you just like are like, oh, whatever, we'll see what happens. Yeah, you will just see what happens, but you can like take the driver's seat and like see like within, like no, you can't go from like being $100,000 in debt to like being a millionaire in one day, but like you can work towards like peeling away or like digging your way out of that and like live a better life. And something that like I really like that she talked about too, which this is my personal approach on money, and I feel like I don't hear enough people talk about this enough either, is like being rich means something different for everyone. Like to some people, being rich might mean having a lot of nice things. Like to me, that's not necessarily what being rich means. I like, or being financially free. Like to me, like being financially free means that like I can have my bills on auto pay and not have to think about it twice. I can book travel or things like that, and like I know how to live within my means, but like in a way that I'm not stressed about, shoot, am I gonna be able to pay my rent this month? Because like I've been there, like haven't we all? Like can I pay all of my bills? Like to me, that's what financial freedom means, like moving away from that. But like to someone else, it might having a nice car or having like a big house, or and like that just means something different to everyone, and like you just have to figure out like what does that mean to you and how can you achieve that. So anyway, I really liked the book, and I thought it was really interesting, and again, something I think everyone can take something, like some nuggets away from, like learn more and like better yourself. So I'll probably, actually I think we have our book club meeting this week, so I have like 1 or 2 more chapters I need to listen to before then. Okay, moving on now into the music realm. So getting back into the Christmas spirit, my favorite album from this month is an album, this was totally new to me until maybe like a month ago or a couple of weeks ago, and I was just like in my record store kind of like browsing around. This was actually the weekend of Black Friday, because I mostly just went to like this one record store in my neighborhood, which isn't my normal one that I go to all the time, but I went there to see if they had any record store day like leftovers or anything. They didn't, but I saw this album, Stax Christmas, and I kind of just like looked at the track list, and then I mean I know most of these artists anyway, and then I think I did pull it up and listen to it, and it wasn't very expensive. This was like, I think it was in the teens, maybe it was $20, I should say. And I should say expensive in terms of like, I feel like records can be a little high these days, especially these like more like limited edition, like holiday-esque ones. But anyway, this is like a Christmas compilation of artists from like Stax, the label. I'm actually going to Memphis later this month for the first time ever, and I'm hoping to be able to go. There's like a Stax studio, like museum type of thing, like tour. So I do really want to go on that while I'm there. But this is, so like I said, artists from the Stax label. So there's like Otis Redding singing Merry Christmas Baby, the Staples Singers, Carla Thomas, Isaac Hayes. There's some Rufus and Carla Thompson doing a song together. So this is, I mean, it's very funky, very soulful, but Christmas music. I like the first time I played this, I was like, oh, I'm obsessed with this. I think I might have played it twice back to back. Sorry, that's who I am. But I feel like it's like, to me, like I'm like grew up listening to a lot of Christmas music that's like in this vein, like the Jackson 5 Christmas, like the Temptation, like the Motown Christmas. And that's, I mean, this isn't quite Motown, but like in that same sort of vein. And so this like feels like Christmas to me. But okay, so they like describe this as being like authentic and easy listening, Memphis made R&B, and for rhythm and blues connoisseurs, which maybe I would call myself that. So anyway, I really like this album. It's like a very fun listen, very, again, puts you really in the Christmas spirit in my opinion, and something that I was like really glad to be able to add to my collection. So that was my holiday album pick of the month. Moving on to my favorite song of the month, which my favorite song of the month, if you know me in real life, you would not even be surprised to know that this is my favorite song of the month. But it is Defying Gravity from the Wicked soundtrack. I'm simply not ready to move on past talking about Wicked. Like, I know I said in my November favorites that Wicked was my favorite movie of the month, and I'm doubling down on that now and saying specifically Defying Gravity from the Wicked soundtrack is my favorite song of the month. Like, I am pretty sure, let me actually check to see if this has changed at all, but when I looked at my Apple replay the other day, like my replay or my Apple Music replay, Wicked had now, this was like a week ago, after the soundtrack had only been out for what, maybe 3 weeks, it was now in my top, oh, it's my number 3 most played album of the year, which like is insane kind of, but again, no, it's not. I've seen Wicked in theaters, like I just saw it for the 3rd time the other day. Maybe I'll be able to see it at least one more time before it's out of theaters. I'm assuming it'll still be in theaters like through the end of the year. And I just like, I said a lot of this in my video from November where I talked about the movie, but Cynthia Erivo's rendition of Defying Gravity is like bar none. Like I think it's like I just feel like hearing her in particular perform it, put it into a different, like I feel like I heard it so much differently than I ever had before. And again, I don't know if it's like the last time I saw Wicked was the theater or on stage was it was like 3 years ago, so not that long ago, but I feel like the lyrics just hit so different. I feel like this go round. But I do like, it's also such a, and I do think too that the fact that like the movie ends at the end of Act 1 with Defying Gravity, and you're kind of left with this, like, again, even though we know what happens, like with this carrot dangling, it makes Defying Gravity feel a lot more, there's so much foreshadowing in it to a degree, because it's a really sad song at the end of the day when you know what is going to happen next. I feel like the first time that you hear Defying Gravity, it just feels very exciting, very hopeful. You're like, yeah, she's flying free. Like, even if she's flying solo, she's flying free, like she said. But when you know what's gonna happen in the second act, it's like, dang, like that was, even the interactions between her and Galinda are so like, it's just, wow. It's like, wow, this is actually really sad, because in the moment, Alpha feels like, okay, like I am alone. I'm totally on my own, but I know I'm capable of doing this. I'm capable of meeting this challenge, whatever it is. Galinda is saying to her, I hope you're happy. Kind of like leaving her hanging a little bit, even though Alpha like said, you can come with me. You can come on this ride with me if you want. But Galinda said no thanks, and like for her own reasons. But I also think like in the movie, the way that it's like the scene draws, it's like the scene is drawn out a lot longer, I feel like, than on stage. Like it adds a lot more of that like suspense of like, okay, she's like really committed to this. Like she is not backing down. She is standing true, like literally standing on business and saying like, no, I know, take a message back from me, I'm flying free, like everyone deserves to fly, like the wizard just told me 10 minutes ago, and I'm gonna take that to heart and move on. So I don't know, I just feel like I can't stop listening to it. And I think it's Cynthia Erivo's, like the way that she just like sang it, and like you can feel so much of her, like I don't know, like the angst, but also the excitement at the same time. And the like, she does truly feel, it's sad, but she does feel free at the same time, because like she doesn't know, again, she doesn't know what fate is going to meet her, question mark, in the later act. But I don't know, Defying Gravity. And I will say though, a very, very close second that I feel like not enough people are talking about is No One Mourns the Wicked. I can't stop listening to Defying Gravity. I probably won't anytime soon either. So probably until May 2025 or November 2025, I might be listening to Defying Gravity on repeat. Knowing that Wicked Part 2 comes out next November is one of the main things keeping me going every day. Like, okay, I can make it to November because I gotta see Wicked Part 2. Anyway, obviously I'm obsessed. Okay, moving now from music into, what do we have next? Into TV. So my favorite TV show of this month, and this is a series I haven't totally finished yet. I think I maybe have 2 or 3 more episodes left, but it is How to Die Alone, which is, I think it's technically on FX, or I don't know if it's actually just a Hulu. Oh no, it is truly just a Hulu, like a Hulu original series starring Natasha Rothwell, also written by Natasha Rothwell too. And for the most part, everyone else that's it. Oh, Jocko Sims is in this too, which if you don't know who Jocko Sims is, he's not bad to look at. And if you watch New Amsterdam, he plays, I cannot think of the doctor's name, but he's like the head of the cardio department. And otherwise, most everyone else that's in here, I'm just looking at the cast really quickly. Yeah, for the most part, I don't really know any of the, oh no, Oliver from How to Get Away with Murder is in this too. But otherwise, everyone else to me were like not actors that I'm familiar with. But I really love this show. I mean, I love Natasha Rothwell. She's so funny. And I mean, I loved Insecure. I'm still so sad that it's over. And she was she was in Insecure obviously, but then she also was one of the like main writers on Insecure. And this series feels very like Insecure in a lot of ways to me, in that it feels like very authentic, but it's also very like funny still, like, and it's kind of like it's lighthearted to a degree, but it's also it's very, very serious too at the same time, that's like how life is. So essentially I was about to call her Kelly because that's her name in Insecure. So Melissa, the main character, played by Natasha Rothwell, is, I think she's 35. Yeah, because it's like her 35th birthday at the start of the show. And she is like single and like kind of like working a job that she like doesn't love and doesn't feel like is going anywhere. And she basically like gets hurt at the very beginning and like has almost like a near-death experience to a degree, but like kind of in a funny way. And that's like, so it's like how to die alone. Like, what if you die alone? Like, what does that mean? And at the beginning of every episode, they interview real people in New York and they ask them like a deep question. And it's almost like that, what's that series, Humans of New York, that is that like editorial series or whatever, that it's just like asking random people questions and they go into like deep detail about something. So it's kind of similar to that, but just like at the very beginning for a few minutes, and then it goes like into the show from there. And so like I said, Melissa lives in New York. She's 35, lives alone. She works at JFK airport, but has never been on a flight before and like never flown anywhere. So she's just like kind of someone that, kind of like what I was saying earlier about like, she's in the passenger seat in her life. She doesn't really like taking action on anything. She's just kind of like along for the ride, and she's realizing she doesn't love where that's got her, but she also was like, well, I don't know what else to do. Like, this is just kind of like who I am, whatever, I'm a flop. And I don't know, I just think it's interesting, like the way that the show goes about it. Cause it is, like I said, it's funny, but at the same time, it's very like, ooh, that's like sad and deep. And I think especially as like, I mean, I'm a 36-year-old woman who is like, I am single, I live alone too, but like, I don't feel like the way that she feels about her life about mine, but I feel like you can like I could see how that would be really easy to feel like, oh, I'm like alone, because like there's a difference between being alone and lonely, and she is very lonely, it seems like. But I also really like that this cast is it's very diverse and it feels very authentic in the same way that like Insecure I feel like did. Like, I actually think that everyone in the cast there aren't any white people that are cast as main characters, which again is very reminiscent to Insecure. And like, I just is always, but they're depicted as like, all of the characters like are depicted as fully developed, well-written characters, which for characters of color on TV doesn't always happen unless there are people of color in the writing room, which again, Natasha Rothwell is the main character or the main writer on this series, so that obviously like makes a big difference. So anyway, I really like it. It's like a pretty easy watch for the most part, and something that I definitely would recommend. Okay, and then closing out my favorites for this month with my favorite movie of the month. This isn't a movie that's in theaters, so it's easily accessible, I feel like, for a lot of people, but it is on Netflix and it is a Christmas movie. So closing us out with a little bit of that holiday spirit, and that movie is Meet Me Next Christmas, starring Christina Milian. And again, I think she's really the only main person that I like, character that I recognized from this movie. This movie has really mixed reviews online. I don't understand why. I thought it was pretty good for what it was. Like, when I was reading some of the reviews, I was like, well, this isn't an Emmy or an Oscar nominated cinematic adventure. This is a Christmas movie on Netflix starring Christina Milian, and like, no disrespect to any of those things, but like, what, like that, I feel like I got exactly what I bargained for. And I just thought it was like a cute, fun little movie. I will say Christina Milian's character is kind of, in real life, I think she would annoy me, but like the way that she plays the character, it's really funny because she is just so like, for a Christmas movie, she's perfectly played because she's so like head in the clouds. I love everything. I love life. Like, oh, I can't wait to like she really romanticizes everything, I feel like. But the gist of it is like, she meets this guy on Christmas Eve so the show opens up in O'Hare, and they do all these like really cool shots of Chicago at the beginning, and I was like, oh, this movie set in Chicago? And then they literally aren't in Chicago ever again in the rest of the movie. So I was like, what was the point of doing any of that like at the beginning? Because it was almost like they were setting the scene for like, this is gonna be in Chicago. But she meets this guy on Christmas Eve, and like they're in an airport lounge, which again, I'm like, where is this airport lounge in O'Hare? Because there aren't very many of them. There's like 2 that are really nice. And she has a boyfriend, but he is like, really feels like they have a really good connection, and he's basically like hey, I would love to still connect with you, like meet me, like let's meet up next Christmas, because her and her boyfriend go to see Pentatonics, which I had never heard of Pentatonics, and now I feel like I've heard so much of them in the past month. So I don't know if they're on some kind of like a campaign to hype themselves up, but they're an a cappella group, and they go every year to see Pentatonics, and that she's like, I'm gonna miss the concert because she like her flight doesn't get there in time because it's delayed. And he's like, meet me next Christmas at the Pentatonics concert if we're both single and we want to like continue this on. So the whole rest of the movie like is a kind of about, then it flashes forward to next year, her and her boyfriend break up, and the whole movie is her trying to get to this Pentatonics concert, trying to get tickets for this Pentatonics concert at the last minute. Of course, like there's like multiple, there's a love triangle, like all this stuff, and it's really just them like bopping around different areas of New York, which is kind of cool too. Like cool to see. Like I just love holidays in like the city, like any city really, with like all the holiday lights and just like fun stuff going on. So I thought it was really cute. I enjoyed it. Like I said, I literally had never heard of Pentatonics until this movie, and they are basically one of them like the starring characters, like, and now I'm like kind of intrigued by them. They also were in that Motown Christmas special, which that's something I also would highly recommend watching. It was so good, but they're in that too. So I'm like, who's doing their PR? Because they're all over the place this Christmas season. But anyway, I really liked it. Would definitely recommend it for like a cute, light little holiday watch. So those were all my favorite things from the past month. This will be like, this video will come out, I think I'll probably end up publishing this like right around Christmas, maybe Christmas Eve even, and this will be my last video I think of the year. So thank you so much to everyone that has been watching my channel throughout the year, but if you're new here, welcome, and like keep watching. I have really been enjoying making these like favorites videos, even though they don't honestly get that many views. I really like making them, so I'll probably will continue to make them in 2025, and like just to share my favorite things with anyone that watches. So again, if you're watching this, I hope that you have a happy and safe holiday season, a happy new year, that you get everything that you wished for and more this holiday season. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next year.